This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, everyone. This is Chris Bowen at Team Genius. Thank you for taking some time out of your day to learn a little bit about how you can potentially earn sponsorship dollars and registration dollars through player evaluations. So for the next 15 to 20 minutes, we'll be discussing a few ways that you can maybe benefit, provide some additional value to your parents, players, and support your coaches also. With that said, my name is Chris, one of our national account executives here at Team Genius. And I'd also like to introduce my colleague Chris Knudsen here, our CEO and co-founder of Team Genius. Chris, welcome to the second in the iteration of our webinar series.
Thank you. Hi, everyone.
Now, for the purpose of the call, we will have everyone on mute. If you do have any questions whatsoever, please put them in the chat box. We'll look to respond to those as and when we can when there's a short break. But again, any questions, please do share with the team. We'd love to address them either with you on the call or afterwards. So now, with regards to this topic, so Chris, tell us a little bit about Team Genius and how we've become such a prominent figure in this space.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. So we're not here to give you a product pitch, but we did want to just share a little bit about ourselves and really why we are talking about this topic. As Team Genius, we run camps, tryouts, clinics. Our software is used by tons of organizations to manage those events more efficiently. So we see thousands of evaluation events every year. Our customers are constantly running different types of events, a lot of different ways of doing it, and perhaps most interestingly, a lot of ways of actually turning those events into revenue generating opportunities for those organizations. So we see a lot across, maybe 15 different sports we work with, 400 plus organizations, and 10 state or national governing bodies. So a lot of different ways of doing this. And we find that most people aren't really thinking about how to make money from these events. And that's really what we want to talk about here today. So I think the first category is perhaps the most obvious and easy for people to grasp, which is simply this idea of being able to make a little more money because you're providing more value to the players and parents. So Chris, I know you talk to clubs and organizations about this every single day. So can you tell us a little bit about how organizations are doing this?
Yeah, and a large part of this comes down to the organization's philosophy here, Chris. And apologies, we only hire Chris's at Team Genius, it seems to be. So, I mean, with clubs that adopt this with their philosophy, they're actually finding that they're trying to get ahead of not just providing feedback to that parent, but giving that little bit more value. And the parents see that value because the club are ultimately more invested in that player's development. So we've seen that where clubs have kind of made it that defined process of, we want to evaluate you at the end of the season or maybe the middle of the season, sit down, have that discussion with the parent, particularly for those sports where you're paying a lot of money, especially your soccer, your hockey, volleyball. Parents have become very receptive of like, oh, they got a better idea of how my kid's progressing and areas that I need to be working on, rather than, hey, I'm just using this to check a box off. That's never shown much value other than like, hey, what information are we providing to make them a better athlete? And part of that comes because athletes develop at different times, right? I mean, I know I was a very slow developer and I was a terrible athlete in my teens, but given that little bit of feedback of areas I could work on, you can catch up quickly as well. So one thing that we've seen is by providing this, you can also keep the process a little bit fairer. So if you are to use this for, say, a tryout purpose, instead of the age-old, I think Johnny is better than Steve, at least you can provide a bit of feedback and rationale behind decisions. So parents get an idea of this is why they're charging for their tryouts. They're trying to make the process fair and ensure everyone gets placed on an accurate team or one that's suited for their athlete's level.
Great. Yeah, that's exactly right, Chris. I think it's really just about, if you can create more value in general for the organization through regular feedback, report cards, getting them trial results more quickly, making sure the parents feel that the process during trials was actually fair. A lot of organizations we see are actually charging more for their events. Everyone's sensitive to the prices these days and doesn't want to jack up their rates, but usually an additional $5 or $10 per kid, either at a tryout fee or perhaps it just built into the registration fee. If you're providing this kind of value, we see that parents are typically happy to pay for that if they see where it's going. So the next category that we see is really around the communication aspects of evaluations. So if you're using an email tool or have a way of generating evaluations and sharing that out with players and parents, you have a really good opportunity to basically send a sponsorship or an offer to a captive audience. You have players and parents, typically parents, who are very, very eager to learn what team their child made after a tryout, or maybe see an offer or accept an offer to join a particular team. They're also keen to see their athletes' evaluation. So if a coach is maybe doing a mid-season evaluation for each member of their team or an end-of-season evaluation, those reports going out are highly coveted by those parents. It's like getting a report card from your private school, perhaps. So if you're able to include a sponsor in those email communications or even on those reports directly, this is a really exciting opportunity. And so, in our software, we see a lot of people doing this. They'll actually throw in a sponsor. You see Super Dave's Auto Body there, Auto Shop. And it's a way basically to say, go to a sponsor and include in your offer packet or your sponsorship tiers that, hey, we have player evaluation emails going out several times a year related to tryouts or player feedback. The engagement with those emails is exceedingly high due to the nature of the content. We'd love to put your logo and an offer within those emails. And so that's a way, again, not only to recoup the cost of an evaluation tool or your investment if you're doing that, but even if you're not using that or want to generate a little bit of extra money, it's a pretty logical way to do it, and one we've seen a lot of sponsors jump at.
And I'll jump in there, Chris. I mean, probably brings up my favorite use case of this area here is recently the club on the East Coast, after those players have got their, hey, congrats, you've made the team, see attached your report. It was sponsored by the local spiritware provider. So kind of as a nice, like, players and parents are already happy. It was like, yeah, of course they'd want to attend the spiritware provider and buy the new hoodie with their new club logo on. So it was a very exciting proposition for the local company too, to get in front of them.
That's a good one. Yeah, definitely. The next one is related to the actual on-field experience during a tryout. So another opportunity is, you've got, again, I mentioned kind of this idea of a captive audience. And same thing goes for these events. You've got a captive audience at a tryout. Parents are arriving to, drop their kids off, check them in. And in many cases, whether it's an open or closed tryout, meaning parents can or can't observe, there's still a waiting area or some sort of engagement with that parent during the event. So there's a lot of things you can do with this. We've seen, heard about people, having a local company pass out offers or samples of something. In some cases, you might have a little handout for parents as they check their player in, which could be maybe a coupon to the local co-op or a buy one, get one from the pizza shop. Tryouts are stressful for everyone involved and who wouldn't like a little pizza after. So you've got a really natural place to extend an offer to those parents while they either, wait around at the event, or even if they're just dropping their kid off and checking them in.
And you got that opportunity beforehand, right? I think you mentioned that hockey association that you worked with, where they promoted the was it the skate sharpening? I've never played hockey, as you can tell from the accent, but I guess that makes sense. Make sure your skates are sorted before you go and try out for the team.
Yeah, absolutely, right. There's a lot of logical things like that, and the local businesses. Again, like a lot of the sponsorship opportunities they're seeing day to day aren't as contextual as you can get here. This is a hockey association and you sell skate sharpening services, and the season is just about to start. What's better than that?
Oh, agreed. 100%.
So moving on to, yeah, exactly. So moving on to the last one here, Chris. I know you're also working with a lot of organizations on camps and clinics, and tell us a little bit about how they might make some extra money on those events.
Yeah, no. So, there's definitely been a trend. You see this a lot with soccer where, coaches are active for the spring and the fall seasons, but doing a lot of winter program or even holiday camps. And it's turned into an opportunity not just to provide like a 3-day camp over Thanksgiving, but also to provide feedback at that point, because you can be very focused. You're maybe seeing those kids for say 5-6 hours a day rather than a few hours per week. So we've seen some organizations increase that camp cost, and with the guarantee that you're going to get a feedback report at the end, so the parents can get a better understanding of like, hey, what have they worked on, some of the areas that they can maybe improve upon. And then with that, and from those reports, we've seen some clubs take that info and go, hey, we've actually got another skills program coming up, or you're a goalkeeper, you want to get a bit more talented in that area, and they'll send them to additional camps and programs. So it's all taken advantage of like, hey, there's an easy way to capture info. So at least communicate like what else you have going on in your program, because that bit of money, not only do some of the coaches need that, but it's a key point of boosting revenue for each of these organizations. And if you're not doing it, the other clubs in your community are. And that's always a worry,
Yeah.
because people do go to where they feel that they're getting the most support.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great point. So if we kind of recap here really quickly, it kind of sounds like there are four big areas that people can generate revenue through player evaluations. There's, adding more value, whether that's by using an evaluation tool or not, just by providing feedback during player evaluations, making parents or showing parents that you're investing in the process, making it more fair, accurate, and et cetera. You can always just charge a little bit more money. You can also include, sponsorship opportunities or logos in emails and reports that are going out about player evaluations, just because they're very, engaged with emails. You can generate an extra revenue from camps and clinics by sharing reports, and also turn the actual evaluation event itself, like a tryout, into a player evaluation or a sponsorship opportunity, rather. Did I miss anything, Chris?
No, I think you got them there. There's many ways that you could be creative, and I'm sure we're missing several others that many people on the call could think of. But it's like those small improvements just help like retain people coming back year after year, and also give you an opportunity to more round out what you're doing today. Adding value is just key all the time. So with that being said, Chris, thanks for carving out some time to chat with us. Those on the call, again, thank you for your time. We will be sharing a recording for anyone not able to watch live. We're here to help if you have any questions, or almost like a bit of a consultation as to how we can help support your program in the future. I'm Chris. It's been a pleasure. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.